Ito ang inyong lingkod na nagbabalik upang magbigay ng mga balitang walang bias at pawang katotohanan lamang. Ito ang Bayang Pinas. Ang isyong ang itong ay naging usap-usapan sa buong bansa at iba't ibang social media platforms. Congressman Benny Abante Jr. muntik nang atakihin sa Puso. Sinunggaban ni Vice President Sara pero nag-backfire. Congressman Acop Natameme. Dito nga natin makikita mga kaibigan na itong si Benny Abante ay kahit bagano katapang ay wala pa rin kinaya o hindi pa rin umubra dito sa tindig at pagsuplak sa kanya ni Vice President Sara Duterte dahil nga patuloy ang pag-atake ng Kongreso patungkol dito sa issue ni Vice President Sara Duterte ay tila ba hindi nila kinaya dahil nga itong si Vice President Sara Duterte ay rumesbak na. Tila ba sinunggaban itong si Vice President Sara Duterte ngunit ang kanilang pag-atake o ang pag-atake dito kay Vice President Sara Duterte ay tila ba nag-backfire sa kanila na nagkadahilanan muntik ng atakihin sa Puso itong si Congressman Benny Abante. Ito namang si Congressman Acop, tila ba isang talagang balimbing na kongresista, hindi alam kung sino ang sinasaydan, kung sa VP ba siya, anti-VP ba siya, or pro-VP Sara. Dito nga natin makikita mga kaibigan na hindi talaga pwedeng pagkatiwala ng kongresistang mga ito dahil nga sa kanila ay hindi makapagdesisyon kung sino ba talaga sila or kung ano ang papel nila bilang isang mambabatas ng ating bansa. Katulad na lamang ni Acop na ito na talaga bang balimbing. Minsan dito siya, minsan doon at hindi na maintindihan. Talaga bang sumasanib lang siya kung sino ang malakas? Well, para nga sa kabuang detalye ay panoorin ang buong video. At salamat din sa ating mga solid viewers sa walang sawang pagsuporta. At kung bago naman sa ating channel ay syempre, huwag kakalimutang mag-subscribe, pindutin ang notification bell at piliin ang all upang laging maging updated sa mga balitang bago, totoo at walang bias. Dito sa channel ng Bayan, ang Bayang Pinas. Huwag din pong kakalimutang mag-iwan ng like at i-share ang ating mga videos. Muli po, maraming salamat and patuloy po nating ipanalangin ang ating bansa na sana ito ay may balik sa dati niyang ganda at dati niyang yaman katulad na lamang ng ginawa ni former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
I'm sorry for what happened to you, Madam Badoy. But you do not have a monopoly of love of country.
I didn't say.
I've spent my life fighting for this country. Oh, so you do not have to tell me that. Mas marami akong sinugal kaysa sa iyo. So do not give me that crap, Madam Badoy.
Thank you very much.
Kasi I have laid down my life very often just to protect this country. And if ever I'm going to be called again, I'll do it. Not the way you want it, but the way it is authorized by the government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, also I would like to make a manifestation that I do not know how old were you, Madam Batoy, when I was fighting the NPAs. 1986. This government almost lost to the NPAs. I was there fighting the NPAs. I do not know where were you at the time. So please, do not make a monopoly of the love of country. All of the congressmen here love our country. That's why we're here. We're not just politicians. We are people that love our own nation. That's why we're serving our nation. So please, do not make that statement. To me, it is still alive, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Sergeant of Arms, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Lorraine. So
Mr. Chair.
now we have you will have to put her in the same place where Ka Eric is, no? I mean in the same area, in the premises of the House of Representatives. That's what I meant. Okay. So now we have the Honorable
May I move for adjournment, sir?
no, there are other speakers.
Meron pa ba? I'm sorry. Okay, I thought we're done. I withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair,
The Honorable
Mr.
Ito
Chair,
na yung relationship niya kay Attorney
Mr.
Suplico.
Chair,
Oo nga.
I'd just like to
By
ask,
the way,
Mr. Chair,
Attorney Suplico, I heard this.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Congressman Dan,
Okay.
where is he going? Because Attorney Suplico is no longer here.
Mr.
Let's
Chair.
proceed.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the Honorable Kimbo, then the Honorable Gutierrez.
Mr. Chair, my co-counsel, Mr. Chair, Attorney Rolex Suplico is the clinic.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, so we take note of that. So
High blood
we
pressure.
hope he will feel better in a bit. Yes. The Congresswoman Kimbo, you were raising your hands, then
Well-
we'll ask the Honorable Gutierrez.
Yes,
This time.
Mr. Chair. Sige, magtatanong na po ako bago sila maubos.
Ako lang naiwan, Mr. Chair.
The last man standing.
The last man standing.
Well, actually, this is really a question on behalf of Cong Joboy. Nainip na po siya, pero pinagbili niya talaga sa akin ng mabuti na talagang kailangan ko daw itong itanong. Okay, so anyway, kanina po, kung naalala po natin, paulit-ulit po in defense of yung pong alleged violation doon po sa Section 11 on the dispersal of ownership, doon po sa failure to comply with a 30% offer, public offer of their outstanding shares. Lagi pong ini-invoke as a defense yung failure daw ng Congress na sagutin ang kanilang sulat dated June 30, 2022. So, ang pinapatanong po ni Cong Joboy Aquino, simple lamang po, nung sa inyong pananaw, nagsulat kayo sa Kongreso, June 30, 2022. Ngayon po ay December 5. Hindi pa kayo sinasagot sa inyong pananaw. Anong ginawa nyo? Kayo ba'y nag-follow up? Nagsulat ulit? Anong ginawa nyo?
For my information, Mr. Chair, we are waiting. But still, Mr.
Waiting.
Chair, because we believe, Mr. Chair, that there is no timeline for that, Mr. Chair. But that's why I'd like to ask for an apology for that, Mr. Chair, and give us time to comply all the requirements. If we may, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So maliwanag, Mr. Chair, na walang ginawa ang SMNI doon po sa sinasabi po nilang hindi pagsagot ng Kongreso. At nandun na rin po tayo doon sa sulat na yan, June 30, 2022. And Mr. Chair, medyo na-disturb po ako dito sa sulat na to because they made it clear. One of their statements in this letter has to do with the purpose of the company. Ang sabi po nila, Mr. Chair, that these are the main priorities of the company. Number one, to serve and to continue to serve the Filipino people, bringing only balanced and fair news through objective and candid reporting in a mix of news and public affairs programs to enrich the discussion for social inclusiveness among the citizenry. Number two, to reach and preach for the goodwill of all and the propagation of faith, as well as religiosity and faith to deepen the faithful's relationship with our Creator. So yun po ang sinasabi po nilang dalawang layunin po ng kumpanya. And therefore, ang sabi po nila, the main goals of the company are not profit-driven. Nililiwanag po nila, hindi po sila profit-driven.
Yes,
So
Mr.
ito po ang aking simpleng tanong. So you confirm that?
Yes,
Attorney.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
but the one who wrote that letter is
So-
not me,
No,
Mr.
simple
President.
lang. You confirm that. Not
Mr. Chair.
profit-driven. So ito ang aking simpleng tanong. Bakit po kayo nag-apply para sa isang commercial franchise? Dito po sa Section 1 ng inyong prangkisa, nakasulat po, nature and scope of franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes. Klaro po, it's for purposes of making profit. Bakit? Meron kasi tayong another category of franchises, non-commercial. Meron po distinct category na ina-applyan po tulad ng mga state universities and colleges na talagang hindi naman po profit-driven at yun po ang ina-applyan nila kapag hindi po for-profit ang kanilang operations. Kaya
Yes, Mr. Chair.
aking tanong, hindi po kayo, bakit naman po mali ang inyong ina-applyan na prangkisa?
Mr. Chair, the best person to answer that, Mr. Chair, is the president of the company. So, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yun po ang isasagot sa akin ng presidente, hindi po ako abogado. Kaya, ikaw na lang po, ang ending po, kayo din naman po.
I'm the last man standing here, so I'll try to answer it, Mr. Chair. Based on my personal knowledge, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is not, the SMNI is not, it's not a focus on profit, Mr. Chair. So that is my knowledge and information about SMNI. That's why if you check, you compare that to the other company, other broadcast company, there are a lot of advertisers in that company. Unlike in SMNI, if there's only one or two per program, Mr. Chair, and very minimal payment, compare that to the other broadcast establishments, Mr. Chair, or TV or radio establishments.
So again, it doesn't really explain. You're explaining that you're not for profit. But then, bakit nga commercial franchise ang in-applyan nyo? And what is your take on, baka nga mali yung prangkisa? Diba?
Nating amendahan.
That's why, Mr. Chair, with respect to the profits, the income, and the financial statement of the company, may I request, Mr. Chair, for our next meeting, Mr. Chair, we will bring with me the external auditor and the internal auditor of the company, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Chair, follow-up question. Kung hindi kayo profit-oriented, paano ipapaliwanag itong 105 million peso revenues in 2022, may interest income na 35 million.
That time, Mr. Chair, during election season, Mr. Chair. That's why I believe that their income of the company in 2022 during election season.
So again, hindi po pa rin maliwanag doon pa sa sinasabi ninyo, doon sa liham ninyo. Kasi yung participating in partisan activities, kung sinasabi ninyong election, ano po ba yun?
It's not partisan, Mr. Chair, but the advertisers of some politicians, Mr. Chairs.
Okay, sige. Pero again, parang, so, kung pwede po, Mr. Chair, baka hindi tayo matapos sa kakatanong, sa susunod na lang po na hearing, kung pwede po sana ma-invite ang inyong Chief Financial Officer para
Yes.
mas lalo pong mapaliwanag sa amin, and especially dito kay Albert Einstein, Dan Fernandez, sa mga questions po tungkol po dito sa business model, kung ano ba talaga yung how you make money, kung ano po yung paliwanag po dun sa changes in income and expenses over the years.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
At how does it align with your stated objectives, and how is it consistent with the terms of your franchise agreement?
Yes, Mr.
So
Chair.
kung pwede po sana, dalhin po ninyo yung inyong CFO para mapaliwanag po yun.
Yes, because she is the best person to answer all those inquiries, Mr. Chair, about the financial statements of the company.
Yes.
Thank you
and
very
then,
much.
Yun na lang po, in addition to dun sa hiningi po ni Cong Abante, I'm sure meron po kayong manual of operations. Kasi ang hinihingi po ni Cong Abante earlier is yung paliwanag po dun sa paano ninyo dinidisiplina ang inyong mga journalists, etc.
We will put that in writing, Mr. Chair.
Yes, pero sigurado ako, meron ba kayong manual of operations?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. So malamang dun sa manual of operations ninyo, siguro naman dyan nakapaloob ang mga journalistic standards, if any, na that you adopt.
Yes,
Diba?
Mr.
So, yun na lang po ang isubmit ninyo para maging mas maliwanag sa amin kung ano ba talaga itong grievance committee. Sino ba ang miyembro ng grievance committee na yan? Diba? So tuwing kailan ba yan nako-constitute, etc. So, isubmit na lang lahat yon
And-
sa amin para sa susunod na hearing.
Mr. Chair, due to the voluminous request of all those documents, can we request for at least 10 working days to prepare all those documents, Mr. Chair?
10 working days daw, Mr. Chair.
There's we will,
No, until the next hearing
Mr. Chairman, can we,
Rolling na lang.
you have to, but I don't think, 10 days.
1 week, Mr. Chair, 1 week.
Mr. Chairman, we are about to adjourn next week. So can we have some adjustment on the period that was given to them?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And Chair Gus, ito namang manual of operations, hindi niyo naman isusulat yan from scratch. For sure,
sir.
meron na kayo niyan. Unless wala.
Yan gawa na ho eh. Hindi nyo naman gagawin yan, no?
Yes, Mr.
Unless hindi nyo, wala kayo, or gagawin nyo pa lang, pero pag naman lahat naman hiningi gawa na yan.
Yeah.
Tapos
Salamat
siguro,
po.
Chair Gus, kung ano yung meron na, kayo
Isubmit
na
na.
munang isubmit, tapos word
That-
back na lang.
That's what I said.
Yun na lang po.
That's what I
Thank you.
suggested.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable
Tapos po ako. Thank you.
Kimbo. Then the Honorable Richard, the Honorable Gutierrez is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, Mr. Chair, this House resolution today was supposedly focused on sa subject matter stated as embodied po, no, submission si Kong Franz Castro, the privileged speech of Kong JJ Suarez. And we assumed that this would be focused mostly on Section 4 because that's the most related to the subject matter, those violations. However, as expertly put out there by our colleagues here today, nakikita po natin that there are other violations, not only po sa Section 4 regarding whatever substance that SMNI has put out, but we also have questions of violations as to the corporate structure. So I just wanted to build on that, though, Mr. Chair. Ideally, before everything else, hopefully we could have more officers. May I ask, Mr. Chair, the representative SMNI, ano ba yung
John, the chair lang will, I'm sorry, my apologies. The senior deputy speaker is here. He's been here for more than 3 hours. And I have not acknowledged him. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Don Gonzalez. Thank you. So welcome to the committee, sir. Mali pala. Mali pala, hindi pala 3 hours, 4 hours. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, may we ask the representative of SMNI, the lone representative, may we know who are the officers of Suarasu?
So I have with me, Mr. Chair, for 2023 document, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, let's start with the top. Sino po yung chairman?
We have the President, Marlon Rosete, Mr. Chair. And Director, Vice President for Finance, Ludivia Ayang. Vice President for Administration, Loris Nepomuceno. Director, Hannah Jane Sancho. Corporate Secretary, Jelaine R. Ramos. Treasurer, Ananya P. Reyes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, who is the chairman?
Uh,
I assume may directors po kayo, so there's a chairman of the board.
there is an officer, but only director, Christina San Pedro. No,
Based
sir.
on your AOI, one director lang po ang corporation
We have
niyo.
two director, Christina San Pedro and Hannah Jane Sancho.
Wala po kayong chairman of the board,
I presume that the president is also the chairman.
president and chairman. So
Yeah.
3-man board po kayo.
One.
That would be the chairman and 2
We have
directors.
7 officers, Mr. Chair.
No, yung sa board lang naman. Yung sa, so how many seats do you have in your board, Mr. Chair?
Sa board. Board of Directors, Mr. Chair.
Board of directors.
7, Mr. Chair.
7. So all of your officers are also directors.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So this is not only executive officers nyo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, saan po sila ngayon?
With respect, most of them are in Davao, Mr. Chair.
Most of them are in Davao. When
Yes.
did you find out that the president could not make it? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
We submitted already a medical certificate this afternoon about the health condition of the chairman. But he is more than willing to come here
Chairman and President.
next meeting, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, your operations are in Makati. Is that not correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Don't you have any other executive officers in Makati who could make it today?
I have to check, Mr. Chair, because per my information, all of them are in Davao. Based
All
on
of
my
them are in
personal
Davao.
knowledge.
So, Mr. Chair, ang Suarasug Media Corporation operates with only the President and its two legal officers here in Makati. Ganun po ba yung sistema natin?
No, Mr. Chair. Only this time that they're in Davao, Mr. Chair.
Only this time that they're in Davao, coincidentally with
Yes,
this
Mr.
committee
Chair.
hearing. Okay, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I bring this up because it's very disappointing po, no? Because a while ago, we've been experiencing a lot of cherry picking. There were a lot of questions that could not be answered. It was summed up very well by Congresswoman Kimbo. The President will say, I cannot answer because I'm not a lawyer. And the lawyer will say, I cannot answer because I'm not the President. So it leaves us in a limbo here today. So I hope in the next committee hearing, we have full attendance po. Actually, last hearing, ang dami po ninyo eh.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
In
Last hearing, the President was here.
More than the President. May nagko-coach pa nga eh. Yung Sancho ba yun? She was an officer, was she not?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And nasan po siya ngayon, Mr. Chair? She was so eager to join Ka Eric and Ma'am Badoy.
Yes.
At ngayon, wala na po, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Sancho. Yun na po, Mr. Chair. I hope that they could afford this committee the respect no, that they attend so that we can actually properly thresh all of these issues out. Kasi pag ganyan po na absent, and then we're delayed again, instead of moving on with your franchise, nababagalan po tayo, no? So that's just a comment on that. On attendance pa lang yun, Mr. Chair.
I suggest, Mr. Chair, that
Sabina?
not Mr. Chair, but to name all those officers that you want to be here next meeting, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may we suggest, we've already written to SMNI, why don't you bring all of your officers? Unless you want nga a subpoena.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Your good judgment. Okay, kung hindi po presidente, dali niyo yung presidente, yung vice
The
presidente.
7 officers, Mr. Chair.
Okay, sama niyo na po lahat. Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair,
Okay.
because some of our colleagues raised the issue of revenues and commercial corporations, I would like to propose that we invite the BIR,
Yes, they are.
particularly the BIR in Davao,
And AMLAC,
and
AMLAC.
AMLA, and SEC, Security Exchange Commission.
SEC is here already. SEC is present.
Oh, okay.
So we will have the presence of AMLA and BIR. Thank you very much. Okay. The
Thank you.
Honorable Gutierrez, you still
Mr.
have
Chair?
the floor. Yes.
Thank you. So I won't belabor the point already of Section 4. We've already had substantial evidence of what we view as transgressions and violations of that section. Mr. Chair, I'd like to focus on the corporate matters that were brought up earlier. Mr. Chair, may we know from the representative of SMNI if Suarasug Media Corporation has at any point in time listed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, yung PSEI, Philippine Stock Exchange?
No, Mr. Chair.
Never.
Never.
Mr. Chair. So when it comes to the dispersal, yung Section 11 po natin, they've never explored the possibility of listing on the stock exchange for dispersal of ownership.
We opted the other mode, Mr. Chair, under the second sentence. Other method of encouraging public participation, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I just want to, para maintindihan po natin, no, the way that the lawyers of SMNI choose to interpret the law. Because on one hand, dahil walang timetable, they will claim because it's not stated in the law, therefore there's no way to interpret it. On the other hand, kung saan walang co-op nakalagay sa batas, they will now interpret by looking at other franchises. Tama po ba, Mr. Chair? Is that the way you interpret the law?
Not necessarily, Mr. Chair.
But in this instance, that is
That's
the
why
way.
we are writing a letter to the SEC,
Mr. Chair, most respectfully, the letter is done. It already said that we have complied with Section 11 by doing the following. So is there an attempt to even comply with Section 11? Mr. Chair, do you have 30% set aside? As far as I understand, all of your 650 million in ACS is not that necessarily paid up, but all of it is subscribed. Saan po natin makukuha yung 30% for the public?
That's why, Mr. Chair, we are more than willing to comply this provision, Mr. Chair. And we are asking this honorable committee to give us a specific time, Mr. Chair, to comply this, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, most respectfully, this is already 4 years in the making. And you are only choosing to comply with the co-op, which is not even in your franchise. But Mr. Chair, when it comes to the timetable, which isn't in your franchise, what interpretation do you have? No timetable, no problem.
But it doesn't mean, Mr. Chair, that we are violating this provision, Mr. Chair. We are more than willing to comply these provisions under Section 11, Mr. Chair. That's why we're asking this good committee, Mr. Chair, to give us time to comply. I'm very honest, Mr. Chair. We are in good faith to comply this provision, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. So you may say that now, but for the past few years, which has not been questioned, there was no follow-up as established prior. Walang follow-up, walang tanong po kung ano nang mangyayari dito sa dispersal natin. There's no question of timetable. Just to lay out the facts, no, Mr. Chair.
That's why, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I still have the floor.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it was mentioned earlier that one, the ACS has been maxed out. Number two, the tone of the letter is not even in a question form. It is already finished. It is deemed complied in their eyes. They have taken it upon themselves to interpret and execute the law. And Mr. Chair, I propose a third way to look into the intent of SMNI. Let's look at their previous franchise, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, is the representative of SMNI aware of the provisions of their previous franchise?
I'm not aware of that, Mr. Chair.
Not aware.
I'm not their lawyer at the time.
Not your lawyer, not the president. Mr. Chair, Section 9, I will read it for you. Democratization of ownership. In compliance with the constitutional mandate to democratize ownership of public utilities, the herein grantee shall make public offering through the stock exchanges of at least 30% of its common stocks within a period of 3 years from the date of effectivity. This act provided that no single person or entity shall be allowed to own more than 5% of the stock offerings. In the past 25 years, you have never listed with the stock exchange. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
I have no personal knowledge for that, Mr. Chair.
You just told me earlier that you have never, Suara Sog has never been listed.
Yes, never, Mr. Chair, but with respect to the details of the information, I cannot answer that, Mr. Chair, because I was not their lawyer at the time.
Mr. Chair, yes or no, is it listed or not? Has it ever been listed or not?
They have, that the question was, so your opening question, and the lawyer stated that they are not listed.
No personal knowledge. Earlier, he made that mention. Now he says no personal knowledge. Mr. Chair, just to be sure, may we ask the SEC, our representative here?
SEC,
Yes, Mr. Chair, we confirm, and I already manifest earlier
which is, what do you concur to?
that we confirm that there's no, they are not listed in the stock
They're not
exchange.
listed. They
They're
have
not
never
listed.
been listed,
They
Mr.
have
Chair.
never been listed too.
Never, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. So now we see the dispersal of ownership provision, not only of this franchise, but the previous franchise of 25 years. They did not try to comply. And wala rin co-op na naka-mention dyan, Mr. Chair. Are you going to tell me now that this should be interpreted na pwede rin ang co-op? Did you have a co-op in the last 25 years, Mr. Chair?
Again, Mr. Chair, I was not a lawyer at the time, 25 years, for the 25 years, so I cannot answer that, Mr. Chair, in behalf of SMNI.
Mr. Chair?
Ngayon, attorney, hindi mo dapat na, at least yung parte yun, alam niyo yun, na, kasi lagi kayo nagbabanggit, history of SMNI. Kanina pa kayo nagbabanggit yan. Hindi ba napag-aralan to? Meron bang co-op dati o wala? O ito yung bagong co-op? Yes or no lang, kasi may GIS naman po eh.
Based on my personal knowledge, Mr. Chair, no, Mr. Chair.
No co-op. Ngayon na ho nagkaroon ng co-op.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Salamat.
Mr. Chair, we cannot subpoena the dead. So the current officers must make do. Kayo lang naman makakasagot ito. Now,
That's
Mr.
right,
Chair, I will move on from that point. Yun na po, no? We established the previous franchise. There was no listing. Failed to be fair with you, Mr. Chair, Section 9 did not mention anything of revocation. But we'll go to that naman, no? In the next portion. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to question the timeliness, no? We are looking at their GIS. A big question now arises of the structure of SSMC. Mr. Chair, something struck me in the last hearing. I believe it was the interpellation of Cong Suarez. The lawyer of SMNI, you were involved with a certain foreign controversy. Is that correct, Mr. Chair? Allegedly?
Allegedly, Mr. Chair.
Allegedly. So you have some knowledge of corporate structuring, shell
I'm not an
companies,
expert of
and the
that.
like.
That is not my practice, Mr. Chair.
But you were engaged with them in that field.
No, Mr. Chair.
Corporate. But you're correct. As legal counsel for the corporation, part of it involved with corporate structuring. Is that not? Do they not seek your advice when they go through these restructurings?
When at the time, Mr. Chair, no, Mr. Chair.
3 years ago, Mr. Chair. So that's at least 3 to 4 GISs ago.
There are many lawyers of SMNI, not only me, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may we know to what extent Attorney Tolentino can answer when it comes to corporate restructuring in the history?
I tried my best to answer the best that I can, Mr. Chair. But I'll be honest, if I'm not aware or have no personal knowledge of your inquiry, Mr. Chair.
No problema. Mr. Chair, sige, we'll just ask the questions plainly. For 2019, there is no beneficial ownership declaration because hindi pa to require ng SEC. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chair, for 2020, you, the GIS of SSMC, mentioned Pastor Quiboloy as the beneficial owner.
Yes, Mr.
That's
Chair.
correct, Mr. Chair.
With 7,500
No, it's okay,
shares.
Mr. Chair. A simple yes or no about the beneficial owner. Now, Mr. Chair, my question is, what is the basis for citing Pastor Quiboloy as the beneficial owner for that year?
First, he has a share at the time, 7,500 shares.
Mhm.
And at that time, he is the executive pastor.
Okay. So we established that he is made beneficial owner by virtue of his executive pastor. By being executive pastor. Because yung 7,500 shares is what percentage po, Mr. Chair?
Only
One?
1%, Mr. Chair.
1%. So I don't think that's the reason for having established him as the beneficial owner. So we must surmise that he is a beneficial owner by virtue of his being executive pastor of KJC. So for April 2021 GIS, it's the same thing, Mr. Chair. Can the representative of SMNI confirm that Pastor Quiboloy was cited as the beneficial owner in the declaration?
Again, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, JS 2021, si Pastor Quiboloy pa rin po ba ang nasa beneficial ownership declaration?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chair, no change, no? 95% pa rin yung executive pastor.
2021.
21, yes.
Pastor Quiboloy has 1.5% share
1.5%.
in 2021, and the executive pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ has 95%.
95%. And he is still the declared beneficial owner.
At this time.
Last page na
At this
at
time,
that
Mr.
time.
Chair. He's
Mr.
the
Chair,
leader.
2022, dito nagbago.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
46% for the Phoebos, 53% for executive pastor. And you've already changed the beneficial owner declaration. You now have 6 people there. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
2023.
2022, Mr. Chair.
Seven personalities, Mr. Chair.
7 personalities. But Mr. Chair, wasn't it shown earlier by Congresswoman Nograles that at this time, Phoebos was like 99% executive pastor?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. It's not 7. It's 10 personalities, Mr. Chair.
10 personalities. Okay. Well, in
Can
either
I
case,
mention the name of the personalities?
that's
No
not
need.
necessary. Mr. Chair, let me focus now on that year. Phoebos, 46% of SSMC was 99% owned by executive pastor of KJC. And executive pastor of KJC at the time was Pastor Quiboloy, correct?
2022, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Di naman tayo nagbago ng year for this query. Correct ba, Mr. Chair? Can we confirm that at the time, the executive pastor was Pastor Quiboloy?
Yes, until December of 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So in that case, how come he was not included in the beneficial owner declaration
Of
of SSMC? Sa dami-daming pangalan binanggit ninyo, 10 packs pa nga, hindi po siya kasama doon.
yes, Mr. Chair.
And you say,
Tanong muna bakit hindi po sila kasama? Can you please answer?
Because there's already the 53.46% is already owned by the executive pastor.
which is
And-
still him,
We're still him, but of course on process, he is already retiring at the time, December of 2022.
Mr. Chair, it doesn't matter for a GIS declaration. All that matters is at the time of submission, who is the executive pastor. So why was there a divestment of sorts? It's just highly curious, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, moving on. So later on in that year, that was the time that there was an actual transfer to Pastor Acobo. December
Brother
2022. Marlon Acobo, 2022 December.
December 19, 2022.
Okay. And in 2023, hindi nagbago. Actually, Mr. Chair, was Mr. Acobo mentioned? Was Pastor Acobo mentioned in the 2023 GIS as a beneficial owner? Out of the 5 people that were there, I think.
2023?
2023.